Sometimes it doesn't work, as we all know. Let's see if it's working now. Reboot it just to make sure. Okay, it is working. It is working, as we all know. So let's see if it's working now. Turn this off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglash for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. And Merry Christmas to you all. We celebrate Christmas right up till Theophany, so it's still Christmas for me. Let's get over to the news. Let's see what we got here today. Okay, Lamborghini has a holiday video, which you know we're going to watch. And apparently they've been doing these fun things for a few years. This is a very special uncle, and so let's get over to the story. Here we go. Bonk.
Floating on air, and I leapt straight out of my chair,
almost he gets a guitar.
I swear I must have been dreaming.
And it's got a remote control in it. Just don't wake me up like now. A radio control car. Let look out the window.
And meet her somehow.
It's from his uncle. And the dad's looking at him a little crazy. And there's a Lamborghini, and you hear it roaring up. It's not clear if this is a big RC car or a real car. Now it starts doing drift curves around the driveway. And it's pretty clear it's not just a model. The kid thinks he's controlling it. He comes to a stop, and there's the uncle inside and says, "Let's go for a ride." And the dad gives him a look like, "What did you do now?" And that's the way it is. Unexpected emotions are more than just a gift. Lamborghini. Okay, it was a lot of fun. I liked it. It's fun, and I wouldn't mind a Lamborghini in my yard, in my front yard, or my driveway, but there's a lot to take care of. I doubt if I'd want to pay for an oil change for one of those buggers. But anyway, that's just me. I hope you have a Lamborghini in your yard. So let's get over to the rest of the news. Okay, I wanted to just loop over to mention the NASA James Webb Space Telescope is now beyond the moon. When I first looked at what they were going to do with that telescope, and they said that it was going to be beyond the moon, and the moon has a dark side according to us. But anyway, there's a way that you can keep the moon between it and the sun. It's going to orbit in such a way around the moon in a solar orbit that it's always in the shade. And that'll help it because it's got such sensitive cameras that, don't look at the sun, right? So it's just past the orbit of the moon, and now it's gonna find a little spot out there where it will be gravitationally. It's like it stays put there. L2, I forget what L2, Lagrange point number 2. Every orbiting body, 2 orbiting bodies have spots where things stay there and behave themselves. And so they're putting it out there, and now it's got to unfold, and it's just starting to unfold now. And there's some 300 potential fail points. So it's like everybody at NASA is in prayer this week. It launched on Christmas, which I think is interesting. And the most important part to keep in mind, on my desktop, you can't see my desktop right here, and on my wall up here is a picture of the Hubble Deep Space Project. I think that's what it's called. And an amateur astronomer thought it would be a good idea to aim it at a dark spot and see if it could see anything. Because with a normal camera, if you keep the lens open and if you want to do telephoto at night, what you do is telephoto reduces the amount of light because it's focusing on a smaller spot. And so even really sensitive cameras, what you have to do is you have to leave them open for a while. And so you adjust the aperture to a second or 2 seconds or 3 seconds if there's not a lot of movement, and you'll get a better picture. if you're zooming in to see something far away. And so he said, well, let's keep it aimed at a dark spot in space that we think there's nothing there, and we'll do it for a month and see what we get. And all the professional astronomers laughed at him and said, well, there's nothing there, or we would see it. Well, let's give it a try. So anyway, they gave him 10 days. They were busy. They had a lot of other things to do. And it turns out that as the Hubble is orbiting around the Earth, to keep it aimed at one spot is a little bit of a task. Apparently, it was a toughie. And but they finally did it. And the reason I keep it on my wall is because what they found in a spot they didn't think they would find anything. It was the size of a grain of sand held at arm's length. That's the size of the piece of space they looked at. And it turned out when they got the film or whatever, when they got the all the images sort of all overlapped, they got 1,500 new galaxies, not stars, but galaxies that they didn't know were out there. And each galaxy, on average, contains about 200 billion stars. So that one image rewrote cosmology, rewrote all that we know about the universe. And now we're going to have a telescope that can see 1,000 times. No, I think it's only 100 times. I think it's 100 times more powerful than the Hubble. But still, 100 times is a lot. If your eyes were suddenly 100 times more powerful, that's almost the difference between being awake and being asleep. So this is a big deal, and maybe we'll keep you posted as it unfolds. It's going to be the biggest telescope in space, and as I said, it can peer back to the very beginning of the Big Bang. Let there be light, as God said. And so they'll be able to see what's out there. I'm hoping for a big sign that says "Go Pack Go" or something like that, just to really throw them off. But I'm sure there'll be surprises. We'll see what happens. Okay, this is an article by Summer Gould that I've been wanting to get to, but it wasn't really Christmassy, so I've been holding off. But Summer says, one of my favorite things to do is to look at the direct mail I get at home as well as at work. I like to see what people are doing, offering, and how. This can help me give ideas to customers for future projects, or can be an example of what not to do. Either way, every piece of mail I get can provide examples. So piece number 1 is a 6 by 11 envelope. That's pretty big size. That's like 8.5 by 11, only a little more narrow. Letter and flat shaped piece. First, using a 6 by 11 envelope is attention getting because it's larger, but even better, it allows the mailer to pay for letter rate postage. I don't think I have anything on my desk that size. I don't think so. But it's a cool idea. It's a very good idea. Okay, so as I pulled the inserts out of the envelope, I immediately realized the flat shape was a pop-up. It popped up into the shape of a house. And there are many shaped options for you to choose from to pick the best fit. They put like a little rubber band in it and goes three-dimensional. I would have liked to see pictures. I went back to look at the original and I thought there would be pictures, but there weren't any pictures. Okay, the messaging was on all 4 sides of the house, and I could lift the roof to find more messaging there. Plenty of room for a call to action and important information. Be unique, grab attention, get the sale. That's the sort of thing, especially for realtors. The key to long-term success as a realtor, I've been told, is getting listings. If you get the listings, essentially, you become the seller, the representative of the seller, and no matter who buys it, you get paid. Whereas if you're just going out trying to help a buyer, you may not have anything that they want, and so there may be a lot of effort for nothing. But if you have a good assortment, a good inventory, then you're sure to make money long term. And so that's what you're after. You're after the listings. And I knew when we put my mother's house up for sale, I probably knew 6, 8 realtors really well, and there was a couple of them on my street, neighbors. So who should I list my mom's house with? Well, I listed it with the one friend who had actually brought buyers around. He'd done that for a couple of times. He said, "I know the house isn't for sale, but if something should change, would you mind? We just walk around the yard. We won't go inside or anything." And I thought, well, that's the kind of guy I want. Somebody who's doing a little extra. And so, and he sends me a Packers schedule every year for the refrigerator. So he got the listing, and it was, I'm sure it was well worth his time. So mail piece number 2, this pop-up, my final point is that's the kind of thing that people will remember when things change and they decide to list their house, because there's always a process of making that decision. And one of the pieces of that decision is, who shall I list my home with? And the person that's been standing out over the years, even if you know a lot of realtors, you probably will go with the one that seems to be putting out the little extra effort. Mail piece number 2, retention. 6x9 mailer, roll folded with 3 panels. The first thing I noticed about this was the colors. Very vibrant. I needed to open the mailer to see the full picture. That built my curiosity. The mailing was tabbed. I prefer mailers that are fugitive glued closed, so that they're not only easier to open without tearing, but they don't take away from the design. It had 2 coupon cards, a 25% discount on my purchase. The other was a 50% discount if I got a friend to buy also. Then they get me in, so they get a new customer in the process. So these 2 direct mail examples worked on me because they got my attention, and the offers were relevant to me. If there are only 2 things you take away from reading today, I hope they are: direct mail needs to stand out, and direct mail needs to be relevant to the recipient, and not necessarily relevant this moment. That's the fallacy of, we know what you'll buy next. The fallacy is that you can predict what I'm going to want next, and I don't even know what I want next. But long term, I probably will sell my house. I probably will need furnace repair. I probably will need, my carpets cleaned or something. Maybe not today. So the relevance of it is not necessarily immediate. And your message is not necessarily relevant today, but it could be relevant in the future. And that's really all that you can hope for. Okay, so the idea is to mail to people who are interested in your offer. Yeah, that's not possible. But anyway, other than that, it's a great article. And I got these things in the mail the last few days, and I wanted to show you some of these. So this white turtleneck is part of a mailer I got. You can't probably see it. Let's try and cam this up a little better. Hit the cam button. Okay, so this is a mailer from Land's End. This is the address and other stuff over there that I couldn't read. It was too small to read, but basically it says it ends December 21st. I could read the small print. I turned it over, and then it makes sense to me. 50% off. I thought it was a joke. I'd never seen a 50% off offer. I've only seen 40. And usually when it gets to 40, I buy it. And so this turtleneck was about $17, plus tax and shipping. I bought 3 turtlenecks because you know how I like Land's End turtlenecks, because of this mailing right here. It's a simple mailing, not much to it. I'm not even sure why they take up all that room with the mountains and stuff, except to maybe convey the idea that they have mountain gear. And they don't. They're in the middle of a cornfield. They're not out on the mountains. They have gear, but they don't have mountains. Anyway, then I got this mailing, and this intrigued me because I thought, well, what is Chewy? Spend less, lounge more. And I was hoping it was for, I got this beautiful Afghan that my wife made for me, and it is so thick and so wonderful. I doubt if I'll ever get to try it, hardly. It's just too nice. Anyway, so there's all this stuff on it. I could not figure out how to get it open, and I was about ready to just tear it in half. But I knew that there were multiple folds. Okay, so here's where I might depart from. I couldn't figure out where it opens. I just couldn't. So now, it just doesn't open, right? And I think, here, it finally, I got a loose part. And this is the fugitive glue that, see, the advantage of the tab, and see, there's a piece of glue. It just keeps going. It's like rubber cement. That's what that is. Anyway, I think this is this gummy glue. But I never did open it. It's got like a gift card on there, and maybe that's variable. I can't tell, but it's glued on really hard. But we don't have any pets. We've never had pets. My wife had a dog when she was a girl, but didn't want one when she grew up. We had 4 kids. That's enough. Anyway, so it wasn't relevant to me at all, and it wasn't openable. So, but it's a nice mailer. Wonderful format, but I would prefer the tabs because the tabs tell me this is where it opens. I can tell where it opens. I have a problem opening things. I stabbed myself trying to get hamburgers open on Christmas Eve, and I'm always having trouble opening the most simple packaging. So that one's going in the trash. My friend Mary England up at Amadon Graphics, she's made a career of just looking at the mailers and saying, could we print this? And could we print it inexpensively? Could we print this better? And then she calls them up and finds the marketing person and says, this is a really nice piece. And how did you think it through? And sometimes at Amadon, they've created whole new categories for themselves. Like she single-handedly invented the gift response card in the Our Daily Bread digest size Bible reading booklets. There's a whole category of those. They said nobody could make an envelope, and she increased the giving fourfold, 400%. 400% more gifts came in when they had an envelope bound into the little booklet. So you can make a living just looking at mailing pieces. One of the great things about mail is that we get to see what you're up to. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart.